Yay. All right. Well, hello, gorgeous. To all my beautiful listeners, I want you to know that this is such a gift for us all to be here together. I am having this conversation today with truly a soul sister from another mister, a incredibly powerful healer and amazing woman leader, spiritual luminary that I am so excited for you to get to know, Lisa Barnett. Lisa, you were on here a couple years ago, and now Lisa has birthed her third book and ready to birth her fourth book soon. So, Lisa, I'm so psyched to have you and talk about Akashic Records and all things about how to know what our soul, like what we're here to do. I'm just excited to be here with you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And I am so thrilled to be with you. It feels like forever, a couple of years definitely, but it is just really a joy to get to be with you and everyone who's listening and share the Akashic wisdom and, right, talk about all things Akashic.
All things Akashic. All right, so I think my sense is for those that maybe forgot, listened a long time ago, have misinformation about what the Akashic, like what the Akashic Records, what is that? Maybe we just start kind of level set and talk about what is it? Like what are the Akashic Records? And your gift, I know, came in very early for you. So maybe what it is and your gift in really being able to access them and how that works.
Yeah, so it's a perfect place to start because, the interesting thing about the Akashic records and the energy field of the Akasha is that that vibration was actually pulled away from Earth during the Dark Ages. So 1,000 years ago, they pulled the vibe away because we, as humans in the Dark Ages, misused the information for our own kind of just selfish good. So honestly, the energy has only been really anchoring back on Earth since the 70s, 80s. And when I first started talking about it back in the 90s, most people were just, their eyes what rolled them back in their heads and they were like, what are you talking about? So what I am talking about is the Akashic Records, which are the recording of your soul's journey through all time space continuum. So what that means is that from the moment your soul individuated from source and went on a journey, everything you have ever been or done has been recorded in this etheric field that we call the Akasha. So you have your own library filled with thousands and thousands and thousands of books. If you just like to imagine it that way. Of course, it's really how we just see or imagine things. But you've got your own library and your own librarians who are pure source energy beings of light here supporting you to understand what you've been and what you've done and who you are and what your soul planned before you embodied this time.
Okay. So I'm going to just everyone take a breath with me because it's so powerful. And one of the questions I can imagine someone saying is how is this connected or similar to past lives and past life regression? Is the Akashic Records, is that recording all of the past lives, both human and not? Maybe go into that for a minute because I literally am hearing somebody say, what's the connection there?
Right. So, everything is stored in the Akashic field. So every life you've lived in the past, and as we know, there really is no past. It is definitely a little hard thing to wrap our brains around because, everything is always happening. So aspects of you in different timelines, you here in this moment, lives you've lived or are still living in other time dimension realms, they're all stored. All that information, all that insight is stored in the Akashic field. So to me, the Akashic records are so much more than who was I in a past life, or did I, have a gift to write a book or be a psychic, or do I have healing gifts and abilities? that is all in your Akashic Records also. But the thing that I found for my clients that is most important is when they come to me and they say, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
And your purpose is very much built on those other lifetimes, who you've been and what you've done, the gifts and talents that you have honed over many lifetimes, thousands and millions, really, as well as the soul contracts you've written to support other people. And so your soul's plan is much denser and about so much more than just a past life.
Yeah. I thank you for also, I think in part of what you said is just this reminder for myself, for all of us, that time is not linear. Even though it seems that way, it's not linear at all. And there's a lot more we could say about time, really, all of it possibly happening at once, which is still hard for, I think, for my human brain to get. It's just like, what, huh? Um, I, before we get into, I really want to dive into this idea of your purpose, and it being built from other experiences and lives, and having, our soul having this plan. I really want to dive into that. Before we do that, for those who don't know your story, because I think it's kind of amazing, how did you, like, I'm assuming you didn't like grow up with your family talking about the Akashic Records. Like, how did how did you like realize, because I just want to tell everyone, Lisa is one of the world experts. You're one of the world experts in Akashic Records, how to read them. You have other books that are incredible that go into this. I remember reading it on the airplane and like taking notes and practicing, and I'm like, this is just amazing. And you have a school, there's so many ways that you're helping humanity to access the records and understand it. But where did it start, Lisa? Like, how did you get tapped on the shoulder? Did you like wake up and just think like, I'm supposed to do this? Like, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
I would love to. So, of course, life is a process. It truly is a journey. So my first memory was being around 3 or 4 years old and kind of looking at my hands thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm trapped back in a body, like trapped was my was my initial reaction to this thought. And I would tell my mother, I want to go home. I want to go back. I don't really want to be here. And of course, poor mom thought I was a little nuts, but she was so sweet and kind and loving and supportive. And she'd say, but honey, you are home and everything is okay. And it was. But what happened for me was that when I was about 13 years old, one of my two dearest friends, my two soul sisters that I had really come to be with, I was at that point 13. We'd been very close since we were in kindergarten. And so Marcia, my dear friend, went into a coma. And I had just gotten a letter from her saying, oh, I'm at the hospital and this, all adorable little kids, and I can see the lake out of my window. And she just was very upbeat. And I got a call from my other soul sister, Shubi, saying Marcia's in a coma. And it had just sent me into a spiral, but it also sent me into kind of past life memory. So I thought, I'm supposed to heal her. I'm a healer. I should be able to do something. I don't know what to do, right? So, of course, that kind of woke me up and triggered me to start to study. Also sent me, down a little bit of a trauma spiral. But sadly, Marcia passed the next day. She never awoke from her coma. And I started studying spirituality when I was about 14 years old. And, this was a long time ago. That was back in the late 60s. And luckily I was in California, and interesting information like Baba Ram Dass had just written Be Here Now, beautiful spiritual book. So I started studying, and that's really where the process started. So for many of us, we have some kind of childhood trigger or adult trigger that makes us think, ooh, there's more, or maybe I'm more than I think I am. And so that started the road. I actually even studied philosophy at the university. And then my second best friend, soul sister, died in a car accident, which of course sends you down a whole nother, rabbit hole, thinking, what the heck? And why am I here? And why am I doing this? But for me, the gifts of those traumas and all of that emotional pain and sadness was that it kind of pushed me to go deeper, to ask more questions, to look for those bigger answers. And so in that lifelong process, by the time I was in my mid 30s, I was studying energy healing, and I studied with a amazing healer for 6-8 years, and then I finally started my own little healing center and started working as more of a an intuitive healer. And that's when the record keepers really dropped in. So it was really a path for me. And when the record keepers kind of tapped me on the shoulder and were like, hey, like, who are you? It's like, you can hear us. And really, to me, the cool thing was I said to them, like, why can I hear you? Why do you want me to start a school? Why me? Because at that point I had like 3 babies. I had 3 toddlers. And I thought, you've got the wrong woman here. And they were like, but you were one of us. You can hear us. You know this work. You are holding this energy. And we need to have people like you anchor it back on the planet, because that's when they told me they had pulled it away during the Dark Ages. So that became my process in the 90s and on, to help anchor this energy and this vibration and this wisdom by starting an Akashic Record school. And of course, doing Akashic readings and healing sessions for clients, to really, and getting out there and talking on a million, telesummits and podcasts and sharing the wisdom. And what that does is, energetically, it's been anchoring it back to earth, so it becomes more accessible for everyone.
Mm. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. And I've heard it personally, and every time I hear you talk about the loss of these like 2 best friends at that age, to have something like that trauma, because I know our listeners, are going to have had different kinds of traumas in their life as well, and it's like to hear, through that, it really unlocks something in you to go deep into spirituality and connection, and to really ask, like, what is this for? Why am I here? And it's just, you can hear the blossoming of who you are and who you've become out of that pain, out of that trauma, and just really acknowledge you, and choosing to to really look at, okay, how can I make a difference here? How can I heal and add more light? And that's one thing for those who, if you haven't met Lisa in person, Lisa, you like literally ooze this light. When we met years ago, well, gosh, 5 years ago, I don't know, feels like I've known you forever, through a beautiful community of other entrepreneurs that are spiritually grounded. And I remember, I was like, wow, you are living this anchor, what you're anchoring to the earth, you are like living it, you're breathing it. For those who don't know their purpose and their soul's plan, let's talk about this book. I remember when you started to talk about this book coming through you, and you were going to Sedona to write it. I'm still working on that 3rd book, by the way, that has not come out. And I was like, look at her. She is just moving forward. What a, like, it was so inspiring to me. Let's talk about the impetus for this book. Like what really was behind wanting to write this book. And then we'll get into like, actually, how do you find this plan for your soul?
Yeah. So for me, it's actually very interesting, because I have written a soul contract with the Akashic Records to help bring this information and wisdom forward. It's the record keepers, these beautiful beings of light that I talk to every day, that are the ones who will say to me, hey, time to write another book, and I'll say, okay, what's this one about? So it's much less me deciding anything, and it's much more them saying it's time for this information. So they actually gave me the title, and now this is over 2+ years ago, I started it. So this was a slower book. My second book actually, I think, was almost done and published in 6 months, which was super weird and wild and lovely. This, took longer. And of course, I asked the record keepers about all these things. Again, great gift of having access into the Akashic Records, which is something I teach people to do, is because you can ask these kinds of questions of your record keepers all the time. So I would say, why am I not so motivated? I wrote most of this book 2 years ago. What's up with finishing it? And they said, well, things are moving a little slower than we thought. Nothing is written in stone. They said, we, thought that humanity would wake up a little quicker. They'd move along a little faster, and we're not. So that's fine. It's just kind of a divine timing thing, which is, again, another one of the greatest lessons I've learned with working in the Akash. But so divine timing, and this, so what we find, and when we can really relax into the energy of flow and really listening to our soul guidance and understanding this kind of roller coaster that we're all on, then it allows us to kind of be okay and not always feel like we have to push and work so hard to make things happen. Because when the timing is right, everything flows. And so when I realized that that it was in my highest and best good to choose a different publisher, all sorts of different doors opened up. And she then asked me to be part of a series of books that she's producing through the company, through the publication. And so, there was book 4 popping in, and just so things all of a sudden just start to flow and sometimes move really quickly. So let me just, this is book book number 3, Your Soul Has a Plan. And it really is about awakening to your life purpose through your Akashic Records. And what I realized is that so many of my clients would come to me and they would say, what is my purpose? And the record keepers say, it's actually to complete your soul's plan. It's not a job description. We all have numerous purposes, as well as 20, 30, 40 soul contracts with other people to support them, to sometimes start businesses, to have relationships, intimate relationships, children, parents, siblings, right? Best friends, soul family members. All of that is written into your soul's plan. And so what I found is that when we can start to, again, see this bigger picture and stop looking at purpose as one finite thing, we can kind of relax back into that. Because I've had so many clients that were in their 60s or 70s come to me for an Akashic reading, and they say, what's my purpose? I don't want to die without completing my purpose, right? And they're a bit in a panic. And their record keepers are like, you've been on purpose your whole life. You were a beautiful, divine, feminine woman filled with this pure, divine, feminine energy that you've been holding in the world. You've been helping to balance masculine and feminine energy in your family. You've held this very pure, unconditional love for your children. This is all part of your purpose, as well as, you've been working with nature and animals and ecology your whole life as a career, as a business, as a love, right? That's all part of your purpose. It's not a job description. And so it's so beautiful when these people feel like they can be, oh, I can relax. I'm doing it. And then sometimes the record keepers will say things like, continue to do kind of your earth guardianship work, where you are helping, the earth herself, helping Gaia herself, work with sacred sites, work with the grids or the ley lines, right? have fun doing it. Have fun going to the beach and putting your feet in the water and activating the beautiful ley lines and grids that are running beneath you. So it doesn't have to be a ton of hard work. It is really about bringing our joy and our gifts out into the world in many different ways.
Hello, friend. I just wanted to take a quick moment to share something really amazing with you. I've recently launched a wonderful membership community for conscious coaches, and I think you're going to love it. It doesn't matter what kind of coach you are, whether you focus on life, spirituality, art, business, health, wealth, wellness, or anything else. This community is designed to support you in building your business from an intuitively guided place and while helping you attract the perfect clients to make a bigger impact. I also want to say that we are going to be meeting bi-weekly with me, yours truly, and I'll be leading and guiding you through some of the most important practices that I've used over the years to manifest success and to raise my vibration. We'll also explore some powerful healing tools and strategies that I call woo tools, which really are about helping you to tap into the wisdom of oneness. If you heard my recent episode, then you know what I mean. You can check it all out at juliereisler.com/inner circle. This is a big hearted community where we are going to dive deep into how to be magnetic and manifest the abundance and clients that you want authentically. We'll also be bringing in experts and authors to help you develop your mindset, your branding, and tap into your heart intelligence and greater wisdom. If you're interested, you can check out the community at juliereisler.com/inner circle. We would love to have you join us. Namaste. I'm vibing with this so much, and I know this is going to impact so many listeners, so many people tuning in right now, because one of the things that I'm really hearing from you through you with the record keepers coming through you is ease up. Like you haven't missed it. In fact, the thought as you were speaking, I'm like, it's actually a way of being, is what I'm hearing. It's, are you bringing in joy, presence, unconditional love? Are you bringing in kindness? Like that alone in itself is enough. It doesn't always have to be, and I think for many, and I know many listening here are driven, ambitious, want to make a difference. And that's great. Yet what I'm hearing you say, Lisa, and it's funny, I've just been really sitting with this myself, is the idea of it doesn't mean we always have to be so productive or have to have this figured out, plan. It could be, like you said, enjoy your time here, enjoy your feet in the sand, enjoy if you had children or nieces and nephews or fur babies or whatever, whoever you're volunteering, like enjoy that you're connecting. That is also adding to healing and the upliftment of the planet. And so this is it almost gives this permission, I think, Lisa, to just to feel more calm and realize, does not have to be, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be something you got to like figure out. It actually could be who you already are naturally being. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And part of this, being in our heart and being that love and taking time for ourselves, right? Self-love, self-care, that's all a part of it. Because one of the things that happened on our planet quite a few thousand years ago was that we went from a very beautiful, divine, feminine energy to a very strong masculine energy that was very much about doing. And so what's happened since the industrial age, right? This last 100 years, when women step into work, they often step into a masculine energy model of being,
Mm.
right? I remember back when I was in advertising 30 whatever years ago, it was a big deal. I was pushing and pushing and doing and going, and it was all about meeting and matching all the men that I worked with, because there weren't that many women in my small advertising company that I was, and I was a production director. So I was producing, I had to produce a lot of stuff, right? And it was exhausting. And eventually it made me sick, right? I ended up with real
Mm.
chronic fatigue, which again was one of those crazy blessings where I got to go, what is up? And it kind of, again, woke me back up to the fact that I was a little off task and off purpose, not only energetically by running a very masculine, heavy energy that was not suited for me and my body, and being feminine, being a woman in a woman's body. But it also was a little off path because I had fallen away from more the healing work and the all of the wisdom that I already had when I decided to go into like the corporate world and make money, right? So even that kind of thinking as I was in my 20s and 30s was about producing and making money and, getting out there. So it really offered me the chance to kind of sit back and think, oh, I'm really out of alignment. What did I come to do? And really coming back to the realization, I came to be a healer, right? Really an energetic healer. And I realized in that process that I also came to share this Akashic wisdom with humanity. But the
Mm.
point that I always find really important to make is that no matter what we look like at any point in our lives, it's been a path, right? It's been its own little roller coaster. From being awake at 3 to going back to sleep after my second best friend died and being so angry that I just, kind of went off just to make money and forget whatever it was I came to do as a soul, right? So it's been an interesting ride. And
Mm.
when I asked the record keepers, like, oh my gosh, should I totally give up? I mean, here I was so awake as a teenager. And then I went to sleep again. And then I had to come back and start over again. Did I
Mm.
totally blow it? Was I supposed to be a spiritual leader at 20? And of course, the record keepers, being pure light, say, no, don't be silly, right? You wouldn't be who you are if you didn't have these experiences, if you
Mm.
didn't learn and grow and bring that compassion that you've learned through all those experiences with you into your life now. So they
Mm.
really want to share with everyone to please don't judge yourself. Don't judge anything you've been or done, because it's part of why we come to Earth hundreds and hundreds of times. We come to learn. And then we share what we learn with other people in so many ways. And sometimes it's
Mm.
someone like me or like Julie sharing our information and wisdom and guidance in a bigger way on a podcast. And for many of us, it's just one-on-one with our family members or our children, or sometimes with our parents who are still working on healing some of their trauma. So the record keepers just are pure love, and they love you and want you to know that it's perfect no matter how you've ever judged it. Let go of the judgment. It doesn't serve you.
Mm. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm just making a note. And this will have I always take notes, put them in the show notes, but this like call out to that. This is so important. Just if you can drop the rock, drop the judgment. And that's such a good reminder of what you said, Lisa, like coming back to your experience, that trauma, that deep grief of losing your two best friends, that was part of shaping who you became. I know there was a time in your life where it was more the working and partying and not as much, that helped shape you and brought you back to where you are. So I love the compassion, real compassion for who you are, where you are now. And we're sending some love to your cute dog who I hear. It's all good, little sweetie. Let me ask you this. For somebody who is hasn't read your book yet or is going to get your book, or just asking, like, I want to know what my soul's plan is, though. Like what are the different ways to express myself, right? It's interesting because I'm even thinking the idea of being your Youest you in my mind is really, it's accessing your highest self, your higher self, which is connected to the many, many lives you've had and then living your soul's plan. It feels so connected. And I'm just wondering for somebody who like to give maybe if there's some steps to take or any activities or just ways to like even begin to look at, I'm just curious. I really want to go deeper in expressing who I came here to be and my soul's, desire to express. Are there any steps or anything you would say where to begin?
One of the things that I did with this book is I really made it kind of a little workbooky. So we added pages at the end to journal in, but there are exercises for reflection as well as guided visualizations and some of the Akashic healing prayers that I channeled. They're all in the book. So, it's kind of lovely to be able to actually use the book in that kind of way where you can go, oh, look, I read this chapter and at the end there's an exercise. In the first chapter, there's a column of light meditation that you can kind of read through and do. And then you can say the clearing prayers, the prayer for creating your dreams and the prayer to access creativity. So there's a real variety of healing prayers. There's a prayer of remembrance, a prayer of self-love, like we were talking about. And so I was really excited when I got that kind of call to add that to each chapter to help people because, there's always so much to say, Julie.
I know. It's a big question. I was like, we're opening a big one here, but it's all good. So
Right.
helpful.
So, what we start to realize and what I really did outline in this book is all of these aspects of what we put into our soul plan. So depending on where each person is kind of in their life, and what the record keepers always say to me is, we want to meet you where you are. So if you are having challenges, say in a relationship, let's talk about relationship. Right? Let's look at, do you even have a soul contract with this, say, significant partner? We sometimes partner and marry people we don't even have contracts with because we're stuck in fear. We're like, and I actually, I've learned all this stuff because let me just say, I've pretty well done it all. My first marriage, I was 30 years old. I moved from Chicago back to California. I didn't know anyone. And I thought, the clock is ticking. I'm 30. I should be getting married. I literally panicked. This lovely gentleman showed up, 14 years older than me. And he said, marry me. And I was like, okay.
I didn't know
That was a
that.
short-lived marriage.
Yeah.
But it was
I
a
didn't know that
great
story. Yeah. I didn't know that, Lisa.
Great lesson. And what it taught me was, don't jump in blindly. But honestly, there was a contract in there because what I learned from that marriage was, one, forget the silly clocks, right? Whatever those collective group beliefs are that I'm of a certain age, I better get married. So kind of letting that go, like we talked about in the beginning, be more in flow. But what I also realized was that he had alcoholic tendencies. And I realized that I could not heal him, that I could not save him. That was his job. And we may have a soul contract with someone who, say, is an alcoholic, and we've come to help them and support them awakening, but they have to do their side of the work. We can only do our side. And if that works together, perfect, beautiful. If it doesn't, if they go off and they're like, I'm fine, I'm good, I can drink, it's okay, then we get to go, I can't save you. It's not my job to heal you. And then we get to go on and, get a divorce, move on, find the next soul contract, because most of us, right, 30 or 40 or 50 soul contracts to be in support, and to learn and to grow with other people. So they're not all easy. Some of them
Yeah.
have the challenges attached because that's about the growth. And for me, that was one of the greatest lessons I could ever learn. I can't save someone,
Mm, yeah.
right? Many of us healers believe that it's our job to heal humanity, to save the world.
Mm,
And it isn't.
yeah.
It's your job to heal yourself and save yourself and to do the best you can with your contracts consciously. Be the energy,
Yeah.
be the light, be the support that's appropriate for us to be. But we can't just bulldoze our way in and save everyone. It's their job to learn their lesson and to get their soul growth and lessons from it.
Super poignant. I really appreciate. I didn't know that story about your first marriage, and first of all, like clearly, everyone listen. You need to get the book, and I love that about you. And I know from your other books, there's a lot. There's so many questions and activities, and then these prayers. So it's very, very interactive, which makes sense, so that you can really work through it yourself. And just, again, what I'm also hearing is, this is a great reminder of like, I need to hear this. Like, it is not our job to save the world. Now, we can have a desire to make an impact, to be of service. Like, I know that really motivates me. That's what gets me up. That's why I wanted to do this show. That's why I know you're doing this work, right? Like, do everything we can. But in the end, we don't save others. We don't, like, you couldn't save your first husband. It's our job to heal and take care of and save ourselves, and then to be of service from that place. It's a great reminder. Really important
It's
distinction.
very important because, especially at this time in history, there's a lot of trauma in the world. And, those of
Yeah.
us who are the light workers who, really came with that heart desire to help. Yes, please, please, please help, you know, and
Yeah.
from consciousness, right? What's mine to do? What's yours to do? All of those kind of aspects. And again, when you can
Yeah.
learn to access your own Akashic records, then you can ask those kinds of questions every day. And so that is one of the other great blessings that I've been given from the Akashic Record Keepers is they have given me a 5-step wisdom prayer system to teach people to easily
Mm.
access their own Akash with vibrational keys, right? So we have keys and codes and these kind of energy gifts. And so I can teach my students how to use the energy key to move into the Akashic records for themselves and ask, really have fluid conversations with our record keepers. And so it's a great gift. And I teach online workshops quite a few times a year. And so it's definitely another thing, if that calls to you, that would be worth looking into. On my website, of course, all of my upcoming workshops.
Beautiful, Lisa. And I will just share with everyone, akashicknowing.com is Lisa's website. We'll have it all on the show notes as well. Before we close, I always, you might remember this last time, I like to ask if your heart, I call them heart flares, where there's maybe, and I'll invite the record keepers, I'm sure they're always connected to you. Is there anything that your heart or the record keepers, or you're feeling inspired to share, that maybe I didn't ask or we didn't talk about, that just is right there for you, that feels like you want to share that in order to be more complete?
Absolutely. Really, when you say that, I just feel all of the beautiful, pure, unconditional love from the record keepers, really from source, that just kind of is pouring through out to everyone. And the record keepers want you to know you have your own record keepers, you have your own Akashic library with a plan. They are really here in service to you. And they want you to know and to feel that love that they hold for you and the support they have for you. And so they are saying, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being the beautiful healing light that you are. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Makes me want to cry. Thank you, Lisa, for your gorgeous light and just who you are and have chosen to be and the work you're doing in the world. And really for teaching, I know thousands of people around the globe how to access their Akashic records and still doing that for people as well. And really like anchoring this work into the world. I know that it's part of this greater opening, awakening, ascension. It's part of a greater enlightenment. And for those with ears to hear it and eyes to see it, and those that are interested, and I know those listening and beyond, this is going to be powerful and make a big difference. And I just thank you and I adore you and I'm grateful for you and the work that you're doing and who you're being, truly.
Oh, thank you, Julie. It's a joy to be with you and everyone. Thank you for having me back.
And I just want to thank you, gorgeous, beautiful listener. Just thank you for being committed to really tuning into what does it mean to be your Youest you. I hope that you got so much out of this beautiful conversation with Lisa. We will make sure to have everything in the show notes, her information, and just to remember you are so loved. You are always where you're meant to be. Divine timing is a real thing. And your soul not only has a plan, as Lisa said, you can be rest assured that you are, especially listening in right now, you're right on time. You're in it. So namaste, love and light to everyone. And of course, to you, Lisa.